said that he and Barron called Andrew together and discussed the Tate's case.
For a while, the assumption inside Andrew Tate's world was simple. Donald Trump is back in office, the brothers backed him hard, and that loyalty would eventually get repaid. Guys, Andrew and Tristan Tate are currently fighting extradition to the UK on close to 60 charges, including rape, sex trafficking, and offenses tied to child exploitation material, after their arrest in Miami. By their own logic, with Trump in the White House, things were only supposed to get easier from here. Instead, it's backfiring in a pretty spectacular way.
Donald Trump, you fucking owe Andrew Tate and Tristan. You owe them. I'm just gonna fucking straight out say it.
That backfiring starts with Congress. Arizona Representative Yasamin Ansari is the one applying the most public pressure right now. She's formally asked the House Oversight Committee to dig into how the Tate case has been handled, and she's specifically demanding that Barron Trump testify. When people push back on that, her response online was blunt, something close to "say what you want, investigate Barron," which raises the actual question here. Why would the president's own son even come up in a criminal extradition case? And did his personal relationship with the Tate brothers ever cross into something more than just fandom?
Waller told me that Barron admired the Tates, and he said that he and Barron called Andrew together and discussed the Tate's case. When we reached out for comment, McBride called our reporting on the relationship between Andrew and Barron fake news.
For months, the working theory in Tate world was that all that election support would get repaid with protection. Guys, that's not how it's gone. The White House itself has now confirmed through Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt that Trump will not step in to stop the UK extradition.
Danny.
Thanks, Caroline. Is President Trump or the administration, do they have any plans to intervene in the extradition process for the Tate brothers?
No, we've already answered that question.
Carefully constructed narratives from George Soros-funded operations trying to destroy the reputations of good people who have no intention to do anything other than follow the law.
Andrew, what about President Trump? Will you return to Romania?
What about President
Did Donald Trump help?
Even with that official answer on the record, people close to Tate are apparently still working the angle privately, leaning on Trump directly, and arguing that he owes Andrew Tate for everything the brothers did to help get him elected.
Donald Trump, you fucking owe Andrew Tate and Tristan. You owe them. I'm just gonna fucking straight out say it. Other people might not want to, hear that or say it, or, oh, I'll lose opportunities. Oh no, Meg's gonna get mad at me. You would be in prison had it not been for these guys. As a matter of fact, to make things even crazier, he'd probably be at FDC, just like Andrew and Tristan are. He would have been the one at FDC. So I think it's time for the Trump administration to burn a favor for the guy that moved a bunch of people to vote for you. So it's irrefutable that guys like him and me are a big reason that Donald Trump is in office now. Barron, you seeing this? I think it's time to pull Pops to the side. And fight this fucking extradition bullshit.
Here's what's actually confusing people though. Go back through the timeline and there's a strange gap that doesn't add up on its own. Tate was under house arrest in Romania facing serious charges, and then, seemingly out of nowhere, he was cleared to travel to the United States. Reporting since then has pointed to a Trump administration official pushing Romanian authorities behind the scenes to ease those restrictions. That's not exactly the kind of thing that happens for no reason.
We asked McBride, their lawyer, whether the Trump administration had anything to do with their release. And he didn't answer the question directly, but he said, quote, "Do the math. These guys are on the plane." Once they're back in the United States, the Tates are filming themselves partying in Miami, looking at apartments in New York, hobnobbing with Kanye West in Los Angeles. But they weren't welcomed by all. There were some conservatives who spoke out against them upon their arrival. Some said that they undermined traditional conservative values. Other people likened the allegations against them to the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein. Through all of this, it's becoming clear that there is a rift on the right.
And that's before you even get to the election math. It wasn't just Tate showing up to back Trump publicly. Kamala Harris herself later wrote that the manosphere's support for Trump, Tate included, was a real factor in why she thinks she lost. On top of that, back when Trump was dealing with his own legal troubles, Tate was one of the loudest voices defending him night after night on stream.
Call Trump and put these fucking spaces on.
Yo, Big D, what's the hold up? Oh, Matrix attack. Gotcha, bro.
Been there.
All right, safe. Safe.
Oh, just gotta wait, I guess.
Yeah, Matrix attack. I'm going to sleep. Good night.
How important is this election in 2024?
It's monumental. It's the fate of the world. The fate of the world is at stake. And I think if the election is fair and free, then it's a done deal. The key word is if. I'm praying that It happens.
Do you think that Trump is also being, pursued by the Matrix?
Do I think? Sir, I know. Everyone knows. The charges against him are complete garbage. The cases against him are complete garbage. And they're doing it to try and stop him getting in power because they don't want him to be president, because they'd rather have a president who doesn't know what's going on so they can just tell his advisor, here's X amount of million, pass this law. That's what they want. The shadow figures want to control the world, and they don't want to have an employee, which is what they'd see him as, who's belligerent. They don't want to have somebody in charge who you can't buy or bribe or blackmail or scare. Trump is going to sit there and say, I have enough money, I'm too old to want more, and I care about my country, I'm going to do what's right for the country. I'm not going to do what's right for you, the big interests and the big money and the globalists. And that's why they're trying to take him down. It's absolutely and utterly, completely a matrix attack. And when I say it's important for the culture, because it is, because Trump is a masculine man in a world where being masculine is instantly bad for some reason. And it will be massively important for the culture, just as I've been a cultural icon. So is he. And so will he help push the culture in the positive direction of healthy masculinity. So it's extremely important for the culture.
It's about the culture. It's about people believing in America again. People saying USA, USA, USA. It's the culture that we need back.
Add it up, guys. Tate pushed that support hard, and those clips racked up hundreds of millions of views, getting reshared everywhere. None of this is really a coincidence. But right now, Trump himself is taking heat over his own Epstein-related ties, and critics are drawing a direct line from that to Tate, calling him a discount version of the same problem, someone who's allegedly been shielded by the same kind of powerful friends, and who, in their view, deserves the same level of scrutiny. Considering Tate is facing trafficking charges, sexual exploitation charges, and charges tied to child abuse imagery, it's easy to see why people who believe he's guilty are drawing that comparison.
It seems like the Trump family is just so inseparable from this Andrew and Tristan Tate story. Melania Trump's presser a few months back saying that she was not a participant of the Epstein stuff was almost certainly driven by Amanda Ungaro. Amanda Ungaro was an Epstein victim who had a child with Paolo Zampoli, who brought Melania to the US. Andrew and Tristan Tate spent the days before their arrest in Miami partying in Washington, D.C. as guests of Paolo Zampoli, Donald Trump's US Special Envoy for Global Partnerships and a longtime friend of Trump and Melania. It goes even beyond that. There was a very warm, friendly, weird interview between Andrew Tate and the very same Paolo Zampoli earlier this year. They're very friendly throughout it. They're sitting there mucking it up. They're like very close friends. And this is where we reintroduce Amanda Ungaro. She is claiming that her ex-husband is entirely lying about the Melania Trump introduction.
Let's tell the public you never was the one introducing Melania to Trump. It was Jeffrey Epstein. She was a escort of Jeffrey Epstein.
Melania Trump then comes out and decides to make a statement.
I have never had any knowledge of Epstein abuse of his victims.
There is a very weird connective tissue here between the way the Trump admin is constantly morally laundering the reputation of the most vile figures. People like Paul Ingrassia, people like Jeffrey Epstein, people like Zampoli, people like Trump himself, people like the Tate brothers, who were quite literally arrested in Miami and would have been arrested sooner if the Trump admin hadn't stopped and stifled investigations. And finally, on top of all of this, Melania Trump.
That congressional pressure is now formal, not just talk. Ansari has sent an actual letter to House Oversight Chairman James Comer asking him to investigate what she calls potential political interference and improper conduct in how this case has been handled. Part of what's driving it, guys, is that photo from the Tate's visit to Washington. The brothers posing in Republican Congressman Wesley Hunt's own office, taken just days before their arrest. Ansari's letter goes further, asking whether contact between the Tate brothers, White House advisors, and the First Family shaped any decisions on prosecution or extradition, and she wants State Department and DOJ records, White House visitor logs, and direct answers from Barron Trump about what he knew. There's also that earlier New York Times report claiming Andrew Tate and Barron spoke over Zoom back in 2024, something Tate's team has flatly denied as fake news. Her stance either way, guys, nobody is above the law here, no matter their money or their connections. The Tate side isn't staying quiet either. Their lawyer has spent the past several days painting the entire case as political persecution, throwing around comparisons to communism, calling the brothers political prisoners held in solitary, and branding the UK government despotic for pursuing them. And once this case actually reaches British courts, he likely won't be the one arguing it. He'll need to hand things off to a UK lawyer just as willing to insist they're innocent.
Influence there, they began to realize that there was a responsibility that came with that influence, and they began to sharpen their minds and sharpen their message and geared it toward positivity and strength for young men. And that's what really pissed the government off. It wasn't like, oh, you were saying this stuff before, we were mad. They weren't coming for them then. They came for them as soon as they started saying a man is a man, is a woman is a woman, be strong, do this, be traditional, blah, 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 blah. Then the government came from them. You can say a lot of the wild stuff. The government will never come for you. You start preaching traditional values and masculine excellence, and they come for your head.
Double-edged sword for the government. It's made them bigger.
Way bigger.
Yeah. And so if whatever it is they're doing, and I'll state it this way. If these criminal charges end up fizzling out and dissolving, these guys are going to be wealthier and more powerful than they ever were before.
100%. And another thing to do is to pay attention to the Florida case that we're litigating, right? Because we're litigating the same set of facts under different laws. It's the same set of facts in the American legal system.
That British lawyer already has a head start, though. The attorney representing the UK victims has been building this case for years, long before any of this political noise started, and Tate's team is going to need every advantage they can find once they're actually standing in a UK courtroom. There's still chatter about whether Trump could somehow intervene at the last second, but here's what the lawyer prosecuting Tate on these nearly 60 charges had to say about it.
You've got the Tate brothers' lawyer, Joseph McBride, who we heard earlier. He says the Tate brothers are American citizens who deserve full American constitutional protections. There should be no extradition of American citizens when the charges are unclear and political. What do you say to that?
Well, there's quite a bit to unpack there. I mean, firstly, yes, they're American citizens, but they're also British citizens.
They both have dual citizenship.
They're dual nationals.
Yeah.
Correct. The alleged victims are British. The alleged crimes were committed on British soil. So the UK courts have got jurisdiction. There's no argument about that at all. As to Mr. McBride's statements that this is some sort of political persecution, well, you can go ahead and say it's political persecution, but it doesn't make it so. On what basis is he saying that? He's offered no explanation as to why this is a political persecution.
So keep an eye on this channel, guys, because tomorrow is a genuinely big day. The court is set to move forward on deciding what actually happens to the Tate brothers next. Things could get delayed, sure, but everything points to this moving fast, and an extradition back to the UK looks increasingly likely. Once that happens, this gets even messier. Realistically, they're looking at spending real time behind bars, because bail in the UK on these charges seems extremely unlikely. If you're new here, this is the Clout Report. Like this video, share it with someone following this story, and subscribe so you don't miss the update.